I'll meet you outside in 5 minutes. Basically, you've got because I got a new book coming out after Christmas called Agent Buried Alive.
Right. And what's the significance of the title?
Because a lot of my programming went on underground. I was kind of like buried alive.
Like, what do you mean by underground? Literally?
Literally in bases.
And what were those bases?
The AL-499 in Berkshire. Grew up just near the base.
Right. Now, that's what we've learned, being told by Barry King, is the Peasmore base.
Peasmore, that's it, yeah, Peasmore base. And also the CLC-1 facility underneath Westminster. Right. That stands for Compartmented Learning Centre 1. That's where they have a lot of remote viewers, remote influencing. I was there in 94.
I mean, we've always been told that the Americans and the Russians had all this remote viewing stuff, and the British really never did anything. So, can you elaborate about that?
Well, the CLC-1 base is, and the AL-499 Peasmore, they're run by the NSA, which is American intelligence. But the
what's the NSA doing right underneath, London?
I think they're in control of a lot of the bases in different countries.
How do they get control of how do they get control of bases in other sovereign states? I mean, we're meant to be an independent state.
Right.
How does that?
From my understanding, it was the National Security Act in 1947. Britain was part of that.
Yeah. So
I think everybody handed their ultimate powers over to the American government in the National Security Act, whoever was part of that. And I know Britain was part of the National Security Act in 1947.
I mean,
I think when it comes to military bases, the Americans are running it in this country. Like I say, the CLC-1 underneath Westminster is controlled by the NSA.
How far underneath Westminster? And is it part of a larger complex underneath Westminster?
Yeah, you've got to understand, Mars, when I was taken in the base, I was always drugged.
Right.
And I was in there. And so the memories of actually going in there are very blurry. I remember when I was in the base, there's a connection to another base underneath Parliament. That supposedly got reptilians and greys in. Because there's a very powerful remote viewer that I know who's remote viewed the base underneath Parliament. And has said he saw greys and reptilians there. I've seen non-human entities in bases over the years.
When you say the non-human, you're not necessarily saying an alien, they're just not.
I saw strange animal types of creatures in cages. Possibly this is a continuation of Nazi super race projects, genetic creations, because I know one of the sub-projects of Mannequin I was involved in was called the Tigris program. Yeah. And in that they were taking modified animal DNA and injecting it into remote viewers, genetically enhanced espionage agents.
Right.
Okay, what have I seen? I've seen a lot over the years. First memory was in 1981. I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And I was at school in London. This is the middle of 1981. I was driven up to the Greenham Common entrance in a Ford Sierra.
Yeah.
And there was two guys in the front seat, and we drove up to the gates. The gates opened, and one of the guys turned round and said to me, "They keep nuclear weapons here." And from my understanding, that's actually a front. It's a mind control operation, kidnapping children. This was in the middle of 1981 when I was taken in there. I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
Basically, the gates opened, and we drove in. We drove along, and we drove down an underground road there. That's codenamed the Bravo entrance to the AL-499 base. Drove down quite far to an underground car park, underground, and got out, and there was a group of 15 other children there. We were kind of huddled in the corner, but there's actually a military truck parked opposite. Yeah. They're quite a big one, and then there was two. You have a car park, you have a man in a booth, and he presses the button when the things come up. Yeah. There was two of them, because it was a two-lane road underground. There's one on each road. And they went further underground. Once things open, they let you in.
Yeah.
But we were 15 children. We were all huddled in the corner and given blankets. and then there was a door on the right, and we were taken in the door on the right by military officers. We were taken in, and it was like went through a corridor, and there was like a classroom set in there, tables and chairs, and we sat down. We all sat down. We were given like puzzles, like geometrical shapes to put together.
Yeah.
And what they were doing there is we were all identified psychics, because it was the Project Oak Tree in the 50s, was before Project Mannequin. That was a genetic bloodline study, and that was run from Harwell Genetics Labs in Oxfordshire.
Yeah.
And that
Which is also connected to this basement.
Yeah, that's the Delta entrance.
Yeah.
Harwell, that goes down to the AL 499.
Harwell's where the Rutherford Appleton laboratory.
Yeah, the genetics labs. Yeah. But the Harwell genetics study, it was called Project Oak Tree, and that was connected into all the major hospitals in the country. It still is. They're still looking for psychic children.
In other words, they're marking your medical records to check who's what.
Yeah.
How do they do that? Do you know how they do that? Is there any mechanism?
I'm not exactly sure how they do it.
So you don't know what to look for in your medical records to see whether you've been identified as a...
Well, Barry King says it comes up on your records that you're part of a government genetic survey, but it doesn't say what that survey is.
Right.
And all your medical records are actually routed through the NSA, through Harwell. Basically, they're looking for blue bloods, children of these bloodlines. Basically, I think you've got the reptilians have high degrees of copper in their blood, so actually it comes out blue.
Right.
And it's people with rhesus negative, they have massive amounts of copper in their blood. They process oxygen. They process a lot more oxygen in the blood than the rhesus positive, and rhesus negative is very rare. It's about 4 or 5% of the population.
Yeah.
And then the amount of oxygen you can process in the blood, that determines psychic ability. It's like in yoga and Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Processing the oxygen in the blood that develops psychic abilities.
Yeah.
So basically these bloodlines are naturally psychic. Again,
because we're running a low oxygen level atmosphere now. The Earth's atmosphere is much lower in oxygen than it used to be.
Right, because they're trying to dampen down everyone's psychic abilities and bring the New World Order in. So people aren't aware of it. The group of children that I was programmed with were all descendants of the tribe of Dan.
Yeah.
Again, just to explain a little bit about them, they come out of the Middle East at the time of the Exodus.
Yeah.
They went up to Greece with the Spartans, I mentioned that, and they went up to France and other places in Europe. They were the Merovingian kings there, and other royal bloodlines. From there they travelled up to Great Britain and Ireland in America.
Yeah.
In Ireland they were known as the Tuatha De Danann kings there. And in America their symbol's an eagle, and that's the symbol that the American coat of arms, the National Security Agency, is the eagle. It's the tribe of Dan. Basically this group, this genetic group, we were all descendants of the tribe of Dan.